There's been a legal battle playing out in the courtroom and in the media between Richland County Council and the South Carolina Department of Revenue regarding the county's use of funds derived from the Transportation Penny Tax Program. Reames, director of DOR, raised concerns of public corruption and fraud and threatened to withhold funds from the county until it came into compliance with DOR's directives. In response, the county sued the agency to get the funds released. Former state legislator and longtime civil rights activist Jim Felder recently publicly spoke out against DOR's tactics, saying the agency did not have the authority to withhold the funds from the county. The MinorityEye sat down with Mr. Felder to gain some more perspective on this ongoing feud between these two agencies and how this turf war could affect Richland County voters.
Mr. Felder, I'd like to thank you for taking time to sit down with me today.
My pleasure.
It is truly an honor to be here with you today. Let's start off. For those who don't know you, can you give me a little bit of background about yourself and what you've done?
Don't mind at all. My participation in activities in Columbia dates back to 1967. I came to Columbia to run the Voter Education Project, which was an organization that was formed to help get blacks registered to vote after the passage of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. When I finished that job, I got drafted into running for the State House. Drafted, I'm literally drafted. I had no interest in running, but Ms. Majeska Simpkins, the house of whom we sit in here today, and some others in Columbia, including Reverend C.J. Whitaker, insisted that I run, and I ran and won. So that was the beginning of my political career. And from there, I went on to be an assistant solicitor, a family court judge on a part-time basis, and continued to do voter registration and voter education throughout South Carolina. Because I just feel that if you don't vote, you become hopeless. And we fought so hard to get the vote that we need to use it every opportunity that we get.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Let me get to the reason we're here today. You recently made some outspoken comments. You basically stated that the situation with the penny sales tax in Richland County, that DOR did not have the authority to withhold funds from the Richland County Council. I wanted to know why you believe that, first of all.
Well, first of all, a director of a state agency doesn't have the authority to hold back money, particularly if the money is not generated by that agency. The Department of Revenue is a collection agency. Their job is to collect the money, send it to the state treasurer, and then the state treasurer sends it back to the county to be spent and used for the purposes of which it was earmarked for. And for some reason, he decided that he could hold back money until the county council did some things he wanted them to do based on an audit, he said, that his agency did.
When you speak of he, whom are you speaking with?
Speaking of Rick Reames. Mr. Reames is appointed head of the Department of Revenue by Nikki Haley, the governor. But he's the same fellow who opposed the penny tax. He's the same fellow who even not only just didn't oppose it, but litigation also against the penny tax, along with another fellow named Rusty D. Pass. So he left private practice and was appointed by the governor to run the Department of Revenue, so I guess he figured if he couldn't get what he wanted as a private citizen, he can now do it as a government employee. And the agency does not have that authority. The penny tax was approved by the citizens of Richland County. We didn't make it the first time, but it made it the second time. For certain reasons, transportation, pavement of roads and streets and walkways and that kind of thing. $1 billion over a 20-year period. Now the second part of that is, in Richland County, blacks outnumber whites on the voting rolls, on the registration rolls. While we are not a majority minority county, but still on the voting rolls, we outnumber whites. The other issue is that black businesses, who often don't get a fair shot at government contracts and so forth, this was an opportunity to see that everybody got a fair shot at it. Equal the playing field, level the playing field. And some people were upset about that, the fact that minority businesses were going to get a piece of the pie. So we're dealing with that also. But the first issue was to make it clear that the Department of Revenue could not hold back money that Richland County taxpayers had paid.
Okay.
And the judge resolved that issue.
Yes, the judge ruled in favor that said that DOR did not have authority. Director Reames was suggesting that there possibly could be public corruption, possibly illegal activity. So his premise of doing what he did was to, as acting as a good public steward of the public's money, the taxpayers of Richland County's money. How do you think he should have handled that?
He should have handled, if he did an audit, and he said he did, and made some recommendations, fine, and pass it on to county council and leave it alone. That's the county council's responsibility to deal with it from that point on. But he came up with a big, broad brush, drawing up fraud and misuse of funds and all of that, and it raised all kind of hackles with people. First of all, it's, well, wait a minute now. If that's going on down there, maybe the Department of Revenue has the right to do it, and that was not the case. If he saw some irregularities which could be squared away, taken care of by county council, then you make those recommendations. What does an auditor do when he comes in and audits the business? He audits it, and then he issues his findings and make recommendations, and that's it, and back away from it. But Reames went a step further. He became judge, jury, policy maker, all in one shot.
Tell me a little bit, how would those funds, I know he withheld the funds in like April, but the judge recently ruled that he could not do that. What, if those funds were held any longer, how would that have affected operations in Richland County?
It would have stopped the bus transportation system because they get their funds on a quarterly basis. It would have held up further work that's already going on with some contracts that had already been let. It would stop the planning of further action. Everything would have just come to a halt. If you don't have money to pay people, work is not going to be done. And that's what would have happened if he had held back the quarterly funds that are due this month. I think July 17th, I believe, is the date, or Monday 18th, whatever it is, because they make quarterly disbursements on it. Everything would have stopped. And so you have people out there trying to get to work, trying to get to the doctor's office, no buses running, what have you. It would have been just chaotic.
Now, based on the judge ruling, both sides, Richland County and DOR, are claiming victories. So, could you elaborate on what DNR sees as a victory?
Well, they see as a victory the fact that they raised the issue. They raised the issue up, and that now the county council will look into it and do something about it. So they're claiming that as their victory. On the other hand, county council victory is the fact that they showed that a government agency cannot tell a county council how to spend its taxpayers' money. Okay. Yeah.
Prior to that, in 2012, Reames issued a letter speaking of voting irregularities, and that when the voting took process, when the day of the election, that certain precincts did not have enough voting machines. And so he cited voting irregularities and that there may have been some intentional wrongdoing. And as a civil rights advocate, soldier, what do you feel in terms of how does this case relate, if any, to voting rights?
Well, I'm sure that it was sour grapes on his part, because this, first of all, he complained about the election process, and there was some problems. There were no irregularities. They didn't have enough machines working and all of that. And again, it goes back to enough fundings to take care of the equipment that you vote on, which was a different issue. But I think he had that to pour over into the penny tax thing. No, there were some problems in 2012 because it was, it was a huge election and it was hot and all of that. But that had nothing to do with the penny tax. But he got stung on that. And so I think that's what set him on fire. And so when the penny tax thing came along, and then he was opposed to that, during that election. That came about during that election. So when he had an opportunity to reach back and slap us in the face, that's what he tried to do from his new post at the Department of Revenue.
Okay. A lot of Richland County citizens are very are trying to figure out exactly, okay, what's going on,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of them are not familiar with the case or are not quite sure what the issue is. So, in your opinion, can you give us a couple, maybe 3 facts that Richland County residents need to know about the situation?
All right, first of all, they need to know that what the penny tax is for, and everybody's not clear on that. That's for bus system, because heretofore the bus system had to limp from one budget a year to another and hoping to get funds from this source and that source. Well, now that source is streamlined. Now, we don't have to worry about, for the next 20 years anyway, what's going to happen to the bus system in Richland County. So that's squared away. The other thing they need to realize is that the penny tax, the other part of it, is repairing roads and streets in Richland County. If you ride down these roads until you know what the conditions they're in, and we only get so much from the state government towards paving and what have you. So they need to know that it's going to go to pave their streets and the potholes and that sort of thing. The other piece is walkways and greenways and parks. Penny tax goes toward that as well. So the penny tax is for improvement of infrastructure throughout Richland County. Not only the bus system, but other parts of the county as far as roads and bridges and streets as well. Now, the other part is they need to know that minority contractors need to get their fair share of the business, of the pie. If you are majority voters in a county, you expect that you're certainly going to get some of the business, but that's an issue also for Mr. Reames and some of the others. They're questioning the contracts that have been let to some minority firms and so forth. They're questioning the public relations piece of it. Well, if you've got to make the public aware of what's going on, that costs money in the communications business. And if you hire firms to do that, it costs money. Time is money, and that's what you're selling. So that's the other piece they need to be aware of, that we want to be sure minority businesses get their fair share of this penny tax.
Okay. A lot of the council members questioned Reames' motives and wanted to know, do you believe any issue with them withholding funds or them raising an issue? Is there any race issue involved here?
I won't say it's race, quote unquote, as such, but it's political. Now, Mr. Reames, there's no doubt about it, he's a Republican. The rest of the past is a Republican. And so they tend to pull politics into it and ideology into it, and it just clouds the issue, unfortunately. Anybody who would put party above services to people, I have a problem with that. And that's where we are in this country today, putting party above the public good. And that's what is happening, and that's why we're in the mess we're in at this point, with the two sides, one not speaking to the other. They can't do any bipartisan stuff because their political party is against it. But yet, my tax dollars is what they're spending out there, and your tax dollars, black folk, white folk tax dollars, Okay.
So. Do you or your organization intend to stay, continue to be involved in this?
Yes, sir. We're going to be involved in this fight until the water's smooth over. When the water is calm, then we'll go through there are other issues out there. The next big issue that we're going to be involved with is Medicaid. The governor's sitting on letting sit in Washington $14 billion worth of Medicaid funds. She refuses to let come into South Carolina. 5 hospitals have closed in the state in the last 2 years because of lack of Medicaid funds. But she doesn't get it. And all she has to do is make one phone call, and the Secretary of Health and Human Services would turn the faucet, and those billions of dollars would flow into South Carolina, creating over 45,000 new jobs and ensuring another 300,000 South Carolinians. But she's sitting on it. She won't budge. I met with her, spent an hour with her last year during the height of the Confederate flag, and she said she was going to do something about it. A year has gone by, she's done nothing. So that is the next issue after the penny tax. Or both of them moving down the same road.
Mr. Felder, if somebody wanted to reach out to you or to find out some more information or to get involved with your organization, is there, how would they do that?
803-252-6566. Okay, or I'm on the web, SCVEP or jimfelder.net. You can reach me that way. You can reach me here at the Modesto Simpkins House. This is our office here, 2025 Marion Street. We're right here.
Well, Mr. Felder, thank you for taking the time to sit down with me, and thank you for your many years of service.
You're welcome anytime.